YouTube, what's going on? My name is Will or Fallacy, and in today's video we're going to be going over how to play Jett more effectively. A little bit about myself. I've been able to climb to Immortal rank playing primarily Jett, and I've put a lot of hours into this agent since the release of Valorant. And I think I have a good fundamental idea for how to play the agent and what makes her so useful. Alright, so one of the first things that I want to talk about in this video is going to be how to use Jett's smoke. So a lot of people, you know, the standard or what they do when they first pick up the agent is they're just going to throw it as they would with, like, you know, Omen or Brimstone. They're looking to kind of smoke off an area as they defend it, right? And that can be useful, that can be effective, but it's not always going to be the highest value for your smoke. Another thing you can do if your goal is to defend something like, you know, B main on Ascent, kind of like where we're at right now. One option is you can throw a one-way. You're going to want to aim kind of high on one of the walls so that it sticks. And if you throw it right here, it's going to leave a little bit of a gap underneath where you can shoot people without them seeing you back. So that's just one example of kind of utilizing the smoke in a more effective way versus kind of the standard or the default. One way is pretty much possible wherever you are on a map, as long as you have somewhere to stick it to. If I throw it right here, for example, you know, this is a little bit high, but you get the idea. You know, we're using the smoke in a slightly more effective way than just throwing it down to block sight. So on top of using one ways, another thing you can do is use it to isolate angles. So like, let's say, you know, I'm in a clutch or something like that, and we have someone, you know, back sight right here, and we have someone tucked right here. One thing you can do is, you know, smoke off the guy right here so he can't peek you while you take this fight with this player, right? Because you're going to be isolating it into two 1v1s through the use of your smoke, which is another great use case. And the third thing that I want to talk about, in addition to using one-ways and isolating your angles, is going to be when you're entering as Jett. So, you know, let's say my team is doing like a B rush, right? A lot of players will come out here and, like, the first time they pick up Jett, they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna like smoke this off, I'm gonna smoke this off. And maybe your smoke agent is already doing that, maybe they're not. This is just kind of like the go-to thing people think of, right? You're like, I don't want to get peeked from here, I don't want to get peeked from here. In an ideal world, your, you know, Omen or Brimstone or Asher, whoever it is smoking off these choke points, right? So now you're coming out here, and you're basically going to be the first out for your team in most situations. My favorite entry is going to be as you're coming around this corner, or even before you can get around it, you can smoke over to the lever or the switch that opens or closes the door right here. And the reason why this is so effective is if you're coming around here and you smoke this, you can dash from here all the way to the lever and you can pop it, right? And my smoke is a little off there. You want it, you know, on the lever itself. And that's really effective because it can cut off the market player from playing the game as you guys are taking B site. And ideally, you know, you have like a 5v1 on the guy that was playing stairs or the guy that was hiding back site. So that's one of my favorite ways to use Jett smoke is when you're entering, you're looking for a strong position to smoke and then dash into. So this would be one example. Okay, so the reason why doing this is so effective is because when you smoke and dash into a site, what you're doing is, you know, the player that's either playing here or playing, you know, somewhere over here, basically they're going to be forced to choose between you, who's now dashed into this smoke, and the other people that are coming out behind you, right? So like if you're right here and you see a Jett dash into a smoke, most people move their crosshair briefly, right? Because the Jett could easily just walk right out of the smoke and shoot you. But the problem is the whole rest of the team is about to come out, right? So if you're right here, it's like, oh shit, Jett is in, and now I have to deal with these people. So basically you're unable to kind of deal with all these angles, whereas before, if people are just filing out of A main, you're going to be able to kind of deal with them one at a time, right? Your crosshair placement is always going to be where the people are coming from. Whereas like when the Jett dashes into a smoke on site, you're kind of creating a really difficult situation for whoever was holding that close angle on A main. So that's just kind of like the reasoning behind why it's so effective. You're also okay. The next thing I want to talk about is positioning with Jett and how you can utilize her kit in terms of positioning. So The first thing I want to talk about is when you have an op with Jett, a lot is possible compared to other agents. So, you know, if you're playing someone else, like maybe you're playing Raze or something like that, or just any agent without a dash, basically you're going to have, if you want to op a main on defense, you're going to have to hold it extremely close, right? And the reason for that is after you take this first shot, you're completely vulnerable, right? So you want to be in a position where you can instantly unpeak and hopefully you're not getting traded, right? Like if I'm playing Omen or something like that, I really don't have any other option. I have to hold close and I have to get out. And I honestly don't even recommend holding an angle like this with an agent like Omen. But the reason Jett is so great is because she doesn't have to, you know, abide by this rule where you have to hold close so that you can fall out, right? Jett has the option to play off angles, right? So I can wide swing all the way out a main. I can hold this temporarily. Obviously, you want to be careful for this guy. But I can hold this. I can take a shot and I can get out of there without getting traded, which is such a useful mechanic and something you want to make sure you're utilizing, right? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is how to use Jett's knives more effectively. So basically, the biggest advantage that you have when you have knives out is that you are not restricted in terms of your movement. So typically when you have a Vandal, you know, you can't just do something like this and kill the guy cat, right? You can't like B-hop, you can't jump, you can't continually move while you're shooting, right? And obviously, you know, if you have like a Judge or a Spectre, you know, a lot more is possible in terms of movement. But the fundamental idea is like when you have a Vandal, you know, you're gonna have to swing out and you're gonna have to stop for a brief second so you can shoot the guy, right? When you have knives, you don't have to stop, okay? So you want to use that to your advantage. If you're trying to fight someone from Talos to Cat, for example, there's a lot you can do, right? So one option is you can updraft and you can fight him like that, which is using, you know, movement to your advantage. You're using your movement ability. The other one is you can kind of throw him off with how you peek it. So you could do like a jump like that and maybe like a little float. The other option is you can kind of B-hop around, and the entire time, you know, you're going to be a pretty difficult target. Typically, if you're B-hopping, people are going to be able to hit body shots on you, but they're going to really struggle to hit that headshot. And given that your knives are a one-shot kill to the head, this is where you can really take advantage, right? So if I'm B-hopping around here and he starts hitting me in the body, if I get that knife in his head, I'm going to be winning this fight. So I'm using my movement to my advantage, and I'm doing things to throw off my opponent. Okay, for this part of the video, I hopped into practice range so that I can kind of go over some of the differences between Jett left click and right click and when you should be using each kind of fire with your knives. Okay, so the first thing that I want to mention is that at pretty much any medium to long distance, it will always be left click, okay? And the reason for that is left click is always fully accurate to your cursor. So if you're going for like long distance or medium distance fights, you're going to be wanting to try to get that left click onto the head, right? That's pretty standard. Most people know that. The reason you don't want to go for a lot of right clicks, especially at medium distance, is because there's RNG to the ability. And it's going to create inconsistencies in your gameplay. Sometimes, like if you're right here and you go for a right click, sometimes it will kill them and sometimes it won't, right? And you don't want to have gameplay that's kind of varying one day to the next, right? You want to have consistent gameplay. So if you're at this distance, I highly recommend going for left clicks, right? Because if you hit your shot, you will always be killing them. Whereas I can, you know, hit my shot, in quotes, I can aim at them correctly and I can not get the kill like you just saw, right? And part of the reason for that is when you right click, it's not going to always be the same pattern. It's just a random pattern, right? So here we right click once and you can see where the 5 different knives went, kind of like in that pattern. And then if we do it again, we're going to get a completely new pattern, right? And so given that this is an RNG ability and you don't really know where the knives are going to go, you only want to go for a right click when you're extremely close, because even if you get some crazy pattern with your knives, they're still going to connect on the body. If I'm at this range and I go for a right click, it's pretty much always going to kill them. And something that's really important to note is you need to change your crosshair placement when you're going for a right click. When you go for a left click, you're always going to be wanting to aim head, right? And in some cases, you know, if you know you can hit their body, you could go for 3 body shots. That's okay. But in general, your crosshair placement with left click is going to be for the head. When you are looking to crosshair or place your crosshair when you're going for a right click, you're going to want to aim much lower. A video that was really helpful for me that I watched maybe 2 months ago is basically that you want to aim for the groin area, or the, you know, not going to say it just to keep the video PG, but we're going to aim for this area right here. And what that's going to do is even when you get some crazy RNG spread on your knives, it's still going to land most of them. As you can see, pretty much all of these right clicks are killing. So if you're wondering why you're right clicking at pretty close range and you're not consistently killing people, try mixing up your crosshair placement. Try aiming a little bit lower. I think that's going to help you a lot. Obviously, like when you go for a right click, I recommend still building on that concept we were talking about earlier, which is using your movement. So if I'm going for a kill right here, I want to utilize like my jump and things like that to kind of throw this target off. Like if I'm around a corner, for example, I guess this is going to be a little bit too far for a right click, but you want to kind of use your movement. And if someone's close, we'll pretend that there's a wall in between us. I can hop around this wall and go for this right click, right? It's really difficult for them to respond to that. It's almost as if you have a shotgun in your hands when you have your knives out. So that's just something I kind of wanted to touch on. Only use your right click when you're very close, and make sure you're aiming a little bit lower when you go for that right click. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I couldn't quite get to, all of the, tips and ideas that I have related to Jett in this one video, but I did touch on a lot of the primary concepts. If you guys found this video helpful, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if you're feeling up for it, drop a comment as well. But that just lets me know that this was a helpful and useful video for you, and I will be sure to make more just like it. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.